Hey guys, this is Kieran from Server.pro, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to set up the plugin Broadcaster on your Minecraft Pocket Edition server so that you can broadcast commands or have messages automatically display in-game. So, let's get straight into it. So the first thing that we need to do is install the plugin. But before we do that, we need to make sure that the plugin is compatible with our server. Because plugins are not always updated, you need to make sure it is compatible with your server version. So I've included a link to this plugin down in the description below. So go to this page, and on the right hand side here it says supported API versions. So this basically tells you whether it's compatible with your server. So you can see here, this works with server versions from Alpha 7 to Alpha 12. So if you go to the control panel, then go to the console, and then if you just type version, you should see here that it tells you the protocol version that you're running. So I'm running 3.0.0-Alpha 12, which is within the specification of this plugin. So that's fantastic. So now that we know our server is compatible, we need to install it. So to do this, you'll see a direct download button here. Just right click this and click copy link address. And then once you've done that, go to the control panel, then go to files, then go to plugins, and then click upload file here in the top right. And then just copy and paste the URL on the upload from web area, and then click upload. And then it should upload the .far file for this plugin. Now once it's done that, restart the server, and then it should load the configuration files for the plugin. So whilst our server is starting up, I'm just going to go back to this plugin page and take you to this commands and permissions tab here. So this tells you the permissions that are needed for this plugin if you're using a plugin such as pure perms, so that you can give players certain access to commands. As this plugin does actually have some cool commands which allow you to send pop-ups, messages and titles to players in game. So you can see all that information here. So now let's go back to our server and we'll refresh this files page, and then once it's refreshed you should see a folder called Broadcaster appear. Now if we go inside of that, you'll see a new config.yml file. So if we just go into that by clicking the name, and then here you can see in our file editor all the settings for this plugin. So this plugin is actually really easy to configure. At the top you can see here it's got loads of comments. It says if there's a hashtag at the start, it means it's a comment and it's not an actual setting. So you can see here it mentions all of the placeholders that we can use for the messages, such as max players, total players, prefix, and basically what that will do, if you put one of those placeholders in, it will replace it with another piece of information. So for example, if you put max players in, that will display the maximum amount of players that can go on the server. So if your player slots are set to 12, it will show the number 12. So let's get into the settings. So the first setting is the prefix. So this is basically what appears at the start of the announcement. So by default it's set to Broadcaster. You can change this to whatever you want. I'm going to change it to Server.pro. And then you can also change the color code. So that's what this is here, the AN9. That's a formatting code, and I'll include a link to this page in the description down below, and you'll be able to see all of the available color codes and formatting codes that you can use. I'm just going to leave them as standard, but feel free to change them to any color you'd like here. So next is the suffix. So I am actually not too much of a fan of suffixes. I only use the prefix. So I'm just going to leave that as it is, as I'll be removing them when I set this up on my server. And then below this is the date and time format. I'm just going to leave this as standard, as most places use the same time format here. So below that is the main setting, the message broadcast. So this is where the settings for the messages that are broadcasted in-game in the chat are displayed. So you can enable or disable it here by setting it to true or false. You can change the interval between the messages, so this is how long it will take between each message is displayed. So by default it's at 15 seconds, I'm going to change it to 30 as I believe that's a more reasonable time. Then here you can change the command format for when you use the command send a message and then the format. I'm just going to leave that one standard as I won't be using this too much in game. I'm setting this plugin up more for the message broadcast feature. So this is the main part here, the messages that are displayed. So by default it comes up with the time, the prefix, and then the message which you've set up. So I'm actually going to remove the time, as I don't really see a point in having a time at the start of a message. So I will just have the prefix and then the message I want to display. So let's change this to thank you for joining our server. And then you can go ahead and edit the other messages to display what you want to. So as you can see, I've changed all the messages a little bit. And again, you can use the same color codes that were displayed here in this area too. And it is important to make sure that you have quotes at the start and at the end of each message, otherwise it won't work properly and it will produce errors. So you can add more than 3 messages if you want to. You just create a new line, 2 spaces and a dash, then a space again, and then 2 quotes, and then you can write whatever you would like inside. I would recommend starting with prefix and then your message. And you can also remove one of the 3 messages if you want to. You can only have 2, you could have 1 if you wanted to. There's no set limit to how many you can or can't have. So that's the main setting out the way. The next settings all follow a similar format. As you can see, we've got pop-up broadcast here, and then we have a title broadcast as well. So the pop-up broadcast follows the same format too. The only difference is the duration. So this is a pop-up that displays, and this chooses how long that pop-up will be up for in game. So at the moment it's set to 5 seconds. I'm just going to change this to 2, for example. And then the title broadcast again follows the exact same layout as the message broadcast, but it just displays it in titles instead. So that's that plugin configured. Again, just make sure you go through and change all the settings that you want yourself. And if you didn't want the pop-up broadcast or the title broadcast to be displayed, just set the enabled setting to false and then they won't do that. So once you've made any changes, make sure you click Save File at the bottom here, and then restart the server to apply the changes. And then once your server has restarted, go ahead and join in-game to take a look at the changes. So as you can see, this is working. It's come up with a pop-up in-game or the title, and then you can see the message that has been displayed with our own prefix and custom message that we set up in the chat. So if you run into any issues with this plugin at all, make sure you contact our support. You can contact them on our main website by going to support and then message us and send a message, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Other than that, make sure you follow us on Twitter. There'll be a link in the description below to make sure that you keep up to date with any giveaways that we might be doing or updates that we're posting there too. So thank you for watching. I hope this tutorial has been helpful for you so that you've been able to set up the plugin broadcaster. Have a great day, and I hope to see you in the next video.